Her background is incredibly tragic, and I can only give a shortened version, and there's a larger controversy with her, which I will not get into here. Here, I just want to focus on the deeper issue, which people don't bring up, of slavery, and gotta say the word capitalism. What happened is that her mother and her grew up extremely poor. Unfortunately, her mother was very alcoholic, very focused on men, and extremely selfish and narcissistic. When Scientology came knocking through a family member, they were very eager at first because, again, they had just an extremely poor background. And while Katrina did notice that obviously Scientology was not what it proposed to be, her mother unfortunately betrayed her. But I want to get to the central core here, which is greed. If you have to ask what is wrong with Scientology, it is basically, at its core, a slave system being run for money.
To the Sea Org.
We all know that Flag is the breadwinner. Yep. Flag makes close to between 6 and 10 million a week. Yep. Between all the hotels and all the services and all the intensives.
Now, the fact that, yes, she was a child when she was being enslaved is definitely alarming, but this is happening to adults and even old people. They are literally trying to ensnare people to be slaves. It's brutally that simple. They're just being put in these weird contracts with all this shaky system with immigration and visas and other tricks. They're finding these mechanisms to enslave people, make money from them, use them up, and when they're no longer useful, get rid of them. Katrina was lucky that she was able to escape and finally let go from Scientology, but this is obviously a very searing experience, and it could have been a lot worse. And unfortunately, you have to say this, and again, we want to be clear, her mother has not told her side of the story, but it sounds really, really awful. She just clearly knew what was happening, but hey, Scientology offered her a husband, a nice little salary, right, in Scientology terms, a little position, and that's it. She just betrayed her daughter and said, okay, yeah, you'll be fine as a slave. I need to move on. I need to move up the ranks. And granted, at Scientology, you don't get much, but these people get things. They get phones, they get cars, they get a little room, they get better clothing, and access to a better lifestyle. If their basal point is extreme poverty and possible death, then yes, they will take that opportunity, even at the most insane moral cost of betraying their friends and family. They will do it because, again, for them, that is a huge improvement in life. And so it's a very, very ugly, tricky situation. Like, what can we do to help these people? Because they are immigrants. They don't speak English, and their only experience is an extremely poor background. Like, what are we offering them? So it's a very deep question. And again, although she didn't mean to, Katrina accidentally exposed Claire and Mark Headley. Again, that wasn't the point of the podcast, but it was really interesting. She accidentally exposed them as liars.
A week.
Wow.
They're a little less about the car usage and everything else. I guess if you have a medical reason, and my mom is an exec, you know, she's a div head.
She's an important person now.
Yes, she had a cell phone at one point.
Remember, this is from years ago. There's a very dark, ugly, ironic tone at the end where he's plugging the Aftermath and saying, hey, yes, this was horrible, but now we have the cure with the Aftermath Foundation, so we're making progress, guys. Don't be too horrified. And of course, guess who's running the Aftermath Foundation? Claire Headley. And again, I do not want to diminish Claire's pain, but she does not emphasize that, relatively speaking, she was actually in a very good position to leave. She's an English speaker, and given her own background, she had it actually pretty good. And when Mark left ahead of her, because, you know, he's a coward, they did come back for her with Mark's father. So they actually had a family relationship outside the church. They even had access to leaving Scientology. These were not people who were enslaved. They had their own private residence. That's why their lawsuit collapsed, because they could have left at numerous times, but they decided to stay. It's a very dark reality we have to confront, that some people in the Sea Org did benefit. They liked it. The only reason they left is like, this doesn't look like a good deal anymore. Okay, I'm going to leave. Some people literally cannot leave. They are literally slaves. They are not going to be able to leave, even if they wanted to. It's like, okay, you can walk down the street. You don't speak English. You have no money. You have no education. You have no visa. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Claire Headley did not have those problems. And also, what was her first move? Help the slaves? Oh, no, I want a lawsuit to get more money. Liberate the slaves? No. We got to take care of Claire first and Mark first. That's what we need to do. So, yeah, I don't have high expectations for Claire's Aftermath Foundation, liberating the enslaved children or enslaved adults. She just doesn't care about those things. However, her pain is real, but you got to think it through. It's really this enslaved population. That's what we should be focused on. And I don't have any magic solution. This is a very tricky dilemma on multiple levels with immigration, capitalism, economic relations. It's a lot of question marks. However, we need to start asking those question marks and get out of the Mission Impossible fantasy that Mark and Claire Headley keep selling.